Google Forms is one of my favorite tools in the Google Apps suite because it is such a great time saver and lends itself to a wide variety of uses. Probably the first thing you need to know about Google Forms is that each form has essentially 3 different components, each with a different link. There is the editable version of the form where you add questions and build your form. There is the live form itself where people go to answer questions or fill in the form, and there is the spreadsheet where all of those answers are compiled. So one form but 3 different links or components. Let's get started by creating a form. Use that red Create button and choose Form. This will dump you into the form editor view and you'll be prompted to title your form and choose a theme. This can always be changed later, so for now I'll just stick with the default theme. Right away I'm given one multiple choice question to start with. Of course, if I want to change this to a text entry area and have students input their names, I can certainly do that by using the drop-down menu next to the question type. Help text is optional but useful if you need to offer some more information. And always click that blue Done button when you're finished editing questions. To add more questions, I just use that drop-down menu next to the Add Item button, and I choose from the list. This Choose from a List question type will only let those filling in the form choose one answer, whereas some people might have a PC, a Mac, and a tablet at home, and they'll want to choose all 3. So I'm going to change this question type to a checkboxes question. Google will keep in all the choices I've entered, but the checkboxes question type lets users choose multiple responses and also allows me to put in an other blank for users to type in a response that's not listed. Beneath each question, you will see a box to make the item required. If I put a check mark in that box, users will not be able to submit the form unless they have answered the question. I'll often put a check mark in that box for name and other critical items that I want to make sure users don't accidentally skip. It is pretty easy for people to skip questions on longer forms, so making questions required helps, but so does building in page breaks so you don't have too many questions on any one page. I can add in a page by using the Add Items drop-down and choosing Page Break from the Layout area. You may title your page to indicate what type of questions are on it, but you don't have to, and if you leave it blank, Google will only display the name of the form, not the name of the page. After you've made a page break and chosen Done, you can drag that page break to wherever you like. You'll notice that once you've got separate pages, you have an Add Item button at the end of each page. This allows you to add questions easily to one page or another. If you have multiple pages, you can also use the multiple choice question type to take users to different pages based on what they answer. Let me put in a couple more pages and a few questions to show you how this works. I'm creating a page to ask my students who use e-readers which device they use and whether they use digital loan services through the public library. My students who don't have e-readers do not need to see these questions or answer them. So I'm going to set up my form to allow them to skip them and take them right to my other new page I created, the All About You page. So now I need to go back to my Technology at Home page, show you how I can send users to different pages based on their answers to a question on this page. This only works with multiple choice questions, so let me add one asking students if they use an e-reader. To get started, I will need to put a check mark in the Go To page based on answer box, and then I can use the buttons that appear to direct students to the appropriate page based on their answer. I will send those who answered no to the e-reader question directly to the All About You page. And I'll send those who answered yes to the e-reader question straight to that e-reader page. This is a very good question to make required so people don't get lost on the form also. And always remember to click that blue Done button. Now let's explore some of the other question types. The scale question is useful for having students rate things. The grid question is great for collecting information on similar ideas or topics instead of creating separate scales or questions for each. Date and time questions are handy if you want people to enter information in that format. I don't need the year for my question, just the date, so I'm going to uncheck the year box. And you can add in pictures to use for questions as well. Images can be titled or not, resized, and centered or right or left aligned. When you're done adding in questions, you can drag and drop them to rearrange the order. Now it's time to check the permissions on my form and set a response destination and preview it. To check the permissions, I need to scroll all the way up, and I can see that currently people will need to log into their Jeffco Google accounts to fill in this form. The bottom option allows me to automatically collect their usernames as well. This is a great option if you want an accurate collection of your students' Google accounts without requiring each to type in their addresses on the form, which can lead to entry errors or typos. So I'll often do this at the beginning of the year to have a nice spreadsheet of all usernames to use for document sharing. Just note that if you check this box, students are asked at the end of the survey if they would like to send a copy of the survey and their answers to their email account. So this is not a good option if you're using the form for a test or quiz. It would be really easy for students to share the test questions with each other. And if you want parents or people outside Jeffco to fill out your form, or if you just don't want to require people to sign in, uncheck that Require Jeffco Login to view this form. You will get a confirmation and you need to choose OK. Now I need to decide where the data users enter into this form will go. I generally always want my results in a spreadsheet so I can sort it and view summary information. So I'll click the Choose Response Destination button and tell Google to make a spreadsheet of responses. If you always want this, just put a check mark in the Always Create a New Spreadsheet and click Create. My questions are done, my spreadsheet is ready. Let's preview the live form and see what it will look like to others by clicking the View Live Form button. Looks good. I can simply close this tab to return to the form editor. Notice the Responses menu shows me how many users have filled out the form, and I can use this menu to stop the form from accepting new responses if I have a deadline or cutoff that I want to enforce. I can also view the actual responses, a summary, or delete all existing responses from this menu. At the bottom of the form editor, you see the default confirmation message users get after they click Submit. You can change this, and there's some other options that you can adjust as well. So when you're all done, how do you get your form to others? Many people will click the View Live Form button and copy the address that appears at the top of the page to use for linking to a website for easy access. You can also click the Send Form option to obtain the link to the live form, and you can email it from here as well. If you'd like to embed the form into Schoology or a Google site, you can click the Embed button to obtain the HTML code to do so. To find the responses that users submit, you can either click the View Responses button, or if you're in your Google Drive landing page, you can find the spreadsheet that you asked Google to store the information in. The form editor icon and the spreadsheet icon look slightly different. And this is how your data will appear on the spreadsheet. As with any spreadsheet, you can sort the data by any of the columns, and you have a special menu added to the spreadsheet that is connected to the form and allows you to show a summary of the responses, which puts the data in chart or graph view for you. You can also go into the Tools menu and set the notifications to email you once a day or right away whenever somebody fills out your form. So that's the nuts and bolts of making a Google form. For some creative ideas for using forms in the classroom, watch my other video called Formtastic Forms.